कौन नहीं चाहता कि उसका मेंटर एक यूपीएससी रैंकर हो। 2021 के फाइनल रिजल्ट्स में सिविल्स डेली आईएएस के 200 से भी ज्यादा सिलेक्शंस हैं। गाइस, आई एम गोइंग टू कनेक्ट यू 1-to-1 विद सिविल्स डेली रैंकर्स फॉर फ्री। देयर इज अ लिंक इन द डिस्क्रिप्शन, फिल इट एंड स्केड्यूल अ सेशन। These ranker will prepare a timetable and a personalized plan for you. ये टॉपर्स आपको exactly वही बताएंगे कि कौन सी बुक फॉलो करनी है, कौन सा चैप्टर पढ़ना है. They will guide you in answer writing, mocks and accessing them. Don't miss this golden opportunity to get mentored by a ranker.
Hello and good morning. I'm Yash Kale. I've secured rank 22 in Indian Forest Service 2021 exam. And here we are with Delhi Knowledge Track to discuss about the strategy and little tidbits about the exam. We will start with what this exam is about and how is it different from the usual civil services exam. So about the Indian Forest Service exam, this is basically the premier entry into All India Service, the Indian Forest Service. This is the direct recruitment exam through which officers from the rank of Assistant Conservator of Forest onwards are recruited by the UPSC itself. Regarding its comparison with the civil services exam, as compared to the civil services exam which has nearly 22 services, Indian Forest Service exam is specifically dedicated to just one service. So naturally this exam is a little more technical. The format of the exam is slightly different, wherein you have two optionals instead of one, and the papers are of a more technical nature than the generic nature of the civil services exam. However, the first stage, that is the prelims, is common between both of them, and you are eligible for the second stage by giving the prelims exam of the civil services exams itself. The cutoff for that is slightly higher, wherein nearly 10 to 15 marks difference is always seen between the cutoff for civil services and a slightly higher cutoff for forest services. And the interview itself, it's the same panel, the same board and the same body that conducts the interviews. However, the nature of the interviews are slightly different, wherein a little more technical questions, a little more environment and forest related domain is focused upon as compared to the generic nature of the civil services exam. So regarding the pattern of the exam, so this is a three-stage exam wherein we begin with the prelims exam, which is a two-paper exam, each of 200 marks each. The first stage, that is the prelims, is the general studies paper 1, is a 200 mark paper with 100 questions, and it is the cutoff varies from year to year. Nearly 8 to 9 subjects such as modern history, ancient, medieval history, geography, economics, polity, international relations, science and technology are focused upon. Along with, there is also a section on current affairs. Now, it is expected that the candidates are well versed in these basic subjects, and by simple study of all these subjects, you can be clearing this exam. The cutoff for forest services exam is usually 10 to 15 marks higher than the previous one. Say for example, in 2020, the cutoff for civil services was 92, while the cutoff for forest services was 109. Regarding the second stage, that is the mains exam, this is where it is different from the civil services exam. Here you have two optionals of 2 papers each, and along with that you have one general knowledge paper which includes all the general subjects that you've studied in prelims, and there is also a compulsory English language paper, which is as compared to civil services, this one is marked, while in civil services mains exam it is merely a qualifying paper. Regarding the marking scheme, the optional subjects, each optional subject is of 200 marks each. So there are 2 papers of each option, that is 400, and including the second option, it goes up to 800 marks. Along with that, there are 2 papers of GK of 300 marks and English of 300 marks. So the mains total comes out to be 1400 marks. Along with that, there is an interview which is of 300 marks that takes the total to 1700. In civil services, on the other hand, you have the interview for 275 marks, and the total somewhat comes out to be 2075 marks. So we have discussed how different it is from the civil services exam. Now the primary question arises, can we prepare for it simultaneously? Naturally, if you have an optional that is common between both of the exams, it is very easy to prepare for that. Even if you don't, such as me, I had my optional PSIR, that is Political Science and International Relations in Civil Services, while my optionals were Forestry and Geology in the forest exam. While it is difficult, it is definitely possible, and with a dedicated time window of around 40 to 60 days depending on the year, candidates have been very easily able to prepare for forest services exam after the civil services exam has ended. The prelims preparation is fairly common, so there is no need to prepare any separately for the prelims of forest services. However, it is the mains that is markedly different, and therefore after the civil services mains exam is over, candidates take a period of around 40 to 50 days to prepare for the forest mains exam. How to prepare for the, how to choose the optionals for this exam? Now, as compared to the civil services exam, the optionals are, the list of optionals is slightly different, and it is based into two groups. You are naturally expected to choose one optional from each group, and you cannot choose two from the same ones. So there is a list available on the UPSC website that allows you to choose from options. The options are of slightly technical nature, so therefore as compared to civil services, you will not find humanities such as political science, sociology, anthropology as a list of available optionals. There are technical subjects such as engineering subjects such as mechanical, civil engineering, etc. On the other hand, there are science based subjects as well, such as forestry, which is among the most popular ones among students, and then there are certain subjects such as botany, zoology, geology, etc. In my case, I had chosen forestry and geology. There are multiple reasons for that. The most important one being that forestry as an optional is a subject that anyway a candidate preparing for this subject needs to be aware of. So for me it was a natural choice. Along with that, it is a very easy optional to prepare with a very set course and a very set source of materials and guidance available. It is a short optional, and since it's a popular one, there is a lot of guidance available for the same. Regarding the second one, that is geology, based on the advice of my seniors and my friends who had earlier appeared for this exam, geology seemed like a natural choice. For a candidate who is fairly well versed with geography in civil services, geology seems like a natural extension, and it is a fairly short optional, which although it is intensive and involves a lot of learning and a lot of new facts and theories and approaches, but it is still very doable, and it is among the most popular ones for the ones who don't want to choose engineering optionals as one of their choices. So regarding the vacancies and the ranks in this exam, so generally the Indian Forest Services exam has around 90 vacancies. This year, however, we were lucky to have 110 vacancies. So that naturally makes the selection easier for candidates, as there are 20 more seats available for grabs. The next year, the coming one, the seats are 150. So naturally, it is going to be even more lucrative and even more easier for upcoming candidates and upcoming officers to clear this exam. Regarding the time management and strategy, this was my second attempt at forestry, and in both the attempts I have realized that this is generally, since most of the candidates who are appearing for forest mains are also appearing for civil services mains, the general accepted practice is that you begin dedicated preparation for forest services exam after the completion of the civil services mains exam. There is generally a period of 40 to 60 days depending on the year. In my attempt, there was around 40 days gap. However, in the coming attempts, because of the normalization of the exam cycle after the disruption of COVID, this is the cycle has now reverted back to 60 days, which is a fairly good enough time for preparation of two optionals. The preparation generally revolves around the optionals, as a candidate is generally well versed with GK and English and does not necessarily need to devote a lot of time. So nearly 80% of my time between these two exams was devoted to optionals, and nearly equally divided between the two. Regarding the strategy and the daily preparation, I used to put in nearly 10 to 12 hours in the middle and the last phases of the exam for preparation of the exam. It is natural that after the completion of the civil services mains exam, a candidate is bound to feel a little exhausted and a little tired. However, the sooner a candidate begins to prepare dedicatedly for forest services mains exam, the better it will be. The period is fairly enough. A serious candidate with 8 to 10 hours of preparation in the first 10 to 12 days and taking it up to around 10 to 12 hours in the later half can very easily grapple with the complexity of the exam. It is it is not very difficult. You're not expected to put in 14-16 hours of preparation daily. It is just that consistent preparation and repeated revisions will help. A general three rounds of revision is suggested, wherein you can alternately take in one round of revision of forestry, then geology, and likewise. Each round of revision should progressively take lesser time, wherein you can first aim for 12 to 14 days for the first one. Similarly, for the second optional, and the next one should be within a week, and the third round should be within 2 to 3 days. There is usually also a gap of 2 to 3 days between the first and the second optional exam. You can also prepare accordingly, wherein you can try and set. For example, if the geology is the second paper, you can also set your timetable accordingly and use those 2-3 days very well and save on the time you get for forestry.
कौन नहीं चाहता कि उसका मेंटर एक यूपीएससी रैंकर हो। 2021 के फाइनल रिजल्ट्स में सिविल्स दिल्ली आईएएस के 200 से भी ज्यादा सिलेक्शंस हैं। गाइस, आई एम गोइंग टू कनेक्ट यू 1-to-1 विद सिविल्स दिल्ली रैंकर्स फॉर फ्री। देयर इज अ लिंक इन द डिस्क्रिप्शन, फिल इट एंड schedule a session. These ranker will prepare a timetable and a personalized plan for you. ये टॉपर्स आपको exactly वही बताएंगे कि कौन सी बुक फॉलो करनी है, कौन सा चैप्टर पढ़ना है. They will guide you in answer writing, mocks and accessing them. Don't miss this golden opportunity to get mentored by a ranker.
The timetable of the exam is such that generally the prelims exam takes place in around June. This is followed by the civil services mains exam, which takes place nearly 3 months after the prelims, which is usually in September, October. Nearly 2 months after that, in December, early December or mid-December, you have your forest services mains exam. The interview for forest services mains exam usually takes place within 1 or 1.5 month of the mains exam, after which you are also expected to, if you qualify, you are also expected to appear for the civil services interview. The cycle is far shorter when you compare it to the civil services exam, wherein you will be done with the entire process of mains, interview and the result within a period of 2 months, as compared to civil services, which nearly takes like 6 months. So this is a very positive impact, wherein it will give you a lot of clarity if you are parallelly preparing for civil services as well. Regarding the paper schedule, generally the GK paper and the English paper take place on the same day, which is the first day of the exam. And followed by that, every optional has a different date. The optional dates are decided accordingly so that the group 1 and group 2 subjects are not very close to each other, and a candidate generally gets a good time of at least 1 day gap between the 2 papers. Regarding the strategy for GS, now as compared to the civil services GS, which involves 4 different papers, here the GK, as it is called, is only one single paper, and it is all condensed. So naturally the strategy would be slightly different. You would not be expected to write extremely analytical answers. The questions are fairly straightforward, and general knowledge and general awareness about the subject will enable you to write good answers for both of them. Focus of the subjects is such that a lot of subjects which are asked in the civil services exam are not asked in the mains exam. For example, there are no questions on generally no questions on international relations, on ethics, on and on applications of science and tech. So the major focus of the questions is on modern history, on ancient medieval history, a good amount of questions on environment and geography, on basic art and culture, and on basic science and tech. Very detailed questions are not asked, and a generally aware candidate who is preparing for civil services mains also should be able to answer for it. There is no specific source that you need to refer. Just analyzing the previous year questions from the same paper for forest services mains GK will give you a fair idea of the nature of the questions that are asked. The number of marks for each questions are reduced, and even the space available, that is for both 10 and 12.5 markers, you get only 2 pages as compared to civil services, where you get 3 pages for 15 markers. So naturally the nature of writing, the speed and the time management needs to be adapted for the nature of this exam. There is no need to refer to any different source for general knowledge. However, for the English paper, since this is a marked paper as compared to civil services, so you need to be better prepared, wherein you can obviously take a better source and study dedicatedly for it for at least 2 to 3 days. The low hanging fruits such as letter, such as idioms and comprehension are something that can be prepared for very well. Any decent English language preparation books such as Arihant, such as there are a lot of them available. You can refer to them. Arihant book was what I referred to, and I found that very useful. This is you can also refer. There are dedicated books also available for Forest Services exam. If you can find them on internet, that is well and good, so that you can also prepare for previous year questions. So we'll talk about the resources for the exam. For prelims, the very basic standard sources such as for history, you can use the book by Spectrum Publications. For ancient and medieval, you can use Lucent, or you can use any good notes, value added material of any major coaching class. They will all be good. For geography, NCRTs and GC Leong would be good. If you can read PMFIS, that will be even better. For science, there is no dedicated source. You can just read PT 365 and Main 365 or any other such compilations available in the market. With regards to economics, I prepared from Sriram coaching classes notes which are available in the market and with the coaching class itself. For environment, I had referred to Shankar IAS material, which I found to be very good. Along with that, for polity, the Lakshmikant book is very famous and is used by all the students. Regarding sources for mains, for GK, every source that you use in prelims and for civil services mains will be equally useful. Just it should be ensured that previous year question analysis is done, so that over preparation and undue focus on the low emphasis subjects are not done. There is no other particular source that I refer to. Regarding forestry, there is a very popular book by Mr. S. Manikandan regarding Indian forestry. That is very good enough, and it can be referred to as nearly an entirely complete source. Along with that, certain extra fringe topics which may be asked in previous year questions can be covered from YouTube or notes of Hornbill Forestry. Regarding geology, there is a book by Mr. Bangar which is very famous. The name is Indian Geology. You can refer to that, and it is a very comprehensive book. Along with that, there are certain toppers who made brilliant notes from other sources, primary sources of technical geology based courses. So, one of them is Mr. Prajesh Jeena, who is also an Indian Forest Services officer, and Mr. Amit Jain, who was previously an Indian Forest Service officer and is now in the Indian Police Force. So, both of these have made very nice notes on geology, which includes not just the topic in Bangar but also the other sources which may not be easily available to the candidate. So, these sources can be referred to, and along with the sources for English that I have asked for. Regarding interview, there is a list of questions by Evolution IAS for forestry and by Planet Geology for geology, which can be referred to along with the general interview preparation such as your DAF preparation, such as the material by Next IAS or Vision for general interview preparation. Along with that, it is recommended that you give a lot of mocks for interview, so that your articulation and your oratory are refined and you can speak as clearly and without hesitation as possible. It is very good in developing confidence for the interview. So, here we have discussed nearly multiple facets of the exam. Of course, we could not cover everything in the short period of time, but I think this is a good start for any candidate who's appearing for the next Forest Services exam. And I will also be doing dedicated videos on the optional, that is forestry and geology. You can refer to them for the same. And thank you for Delhi Knowledge Track for giving me this opportunity to share my experiences with the candidates. And all the best to you. And I hope that I see you very soon in the services, and study hard.